Hello again. As you may or may not know, I am Eli the Computer Guy, and INE has invited me down to their Durham, North Carolina office to interview many of the technology and IT professionals in the area. So I'm here with Sharanya Prasad today. What is it? The Solutions Test Engineer at Cisco.
Yep.
Yeah. So can you tell me, what is a Solutions Test Engineer at Cisco?
So basically, we do a lot of testing of the latest products that Cisco has.
Yeah.
So we basically fall in their entire life cycle, like before they sell the product and after they sell the product.
Okay.
So after they sell the product, we try to emulate the customer's environment and see how our product fits in, if any latest releases could be introduced in it, or if any additional features could be added to that. So we're just trying to see how we can better their environment, and we're also testing our new products against their existing environments.
Interesting. So do they tell you what you should test, or do you just kind of get to go in and play all day?
It depends. Like if they want certain kinds of improvements in their network, we see what we can add to it.
Yep.
Or else if we have a product that we want to test, so we just go ahead and test it, and then we say, look, this is going to improve your productivity by this much.
Okay.
So do you want it in your network? So that kind of thing.
Well, that's cool. So on the whole Cisco certification scale, where are you? Do you have CCNA or CCNP? Or?
Yeah, I actually, funnily, I got my vCenter certification, VCP certifications first.
Oh, okay.
I'm almost about to get my CCNA, but I do see myself trying to get a CCIE. I'm in the process.
Okay.
So maybe a year from now,
Yeah.
because that's how long it takes. So
That's cool. So you don't have your CCNA yet?
I don't.
But you work for Cisco.
Yes.
So how does that work out? How can you work with Cisco or for Cisco and not have a CCNA?
I mean, I pretty much know the entire content for CCNA. Like I've prepared my entire route and switch completely.
Yeah.
It's just that I haven't written the exam, and it was also because I was thinking, should I like directly write my CCIE or should I write my CCNA first?
Yeah.
And the thing is, I'm getting a lot of hands-on. Like right now at the company, we're working hands-on with like most of these products and all these protocols and all these new stuff that's coming out.
Yeah.
So I don't feel like I lack something without a certification. Like I can pretty much do everything that a CCNA can do. So I don't really lack anything because I don't have the certification. But of course, it's good to have the certifications to just tell people, see, I have this.
Yeah.
So.
All right. So at Cisco, so we've talked with a lot of people that already have their CCIEs and all that, and so that once they have that level, they say Cisco is very supportive. But from your position looking up, how supportive does Cisco look? Does it seem like something like getting a CCIE is relatively reasonable to do?
Yeah, definitely. Especially, so it depends totally upon what you're working right now.
Yeah.
For some people, they don't have access to a lot of things. For example, now that I'm working with ACI, I have like hands-on on ACI. I can actually see all the features. I can work with it. I can do whatever I want with it and learn it much better than someone who has to like probably buy a subscription or just read about it on the internet.
Yeah.
So I think I have the advantage that I have direct access, and I'm actually working on it. So I think that makes a huge difference, even for CCIE. Like if I'm doing hands-on stuff, then there's nothing like it, as opposed to just reading stuff, because that's not going to help too much when it comes to doing the actual labs and stuff.
Yeah. So do you get to, because you say, so your department, you get to work on the ACI. Are you able to work in other departments if you need new experience, or?
Yeah, sometimes like they have these projects where my manager will lend me out to another department for a certain area. If they want some help with something, I'm always available to do that. But it all comes back to like what you're doing in your team, because I mean, I got to finish what I'm doing in my team first, and also if the project in the other team has more importance, or if that's something I've already worked on and I already know, then I can go help out with that. So it all depends on that.
Are those things that you can volunteer? Can you tell your boss you want that, or is it more your boss just comes in and goes, you out?
I haven't really tried that, but I think it's pretty flexible.
Okay.
We do have a cloud solutions team too, which I've been very interested in. So, I mean, I could try that. I don't really know.
Okay. So you started, so you have a telecommunications engineering degree. Oh my golly, from Visvarya Technological University? Yeah.
Yeah.
So So like normally when you think of degrees, at least here in the US, you think of computer science, information systems, maybe computer engineering.
Yep.
So what's a telecommunications engineering degree then?
So basically, initially when I actually saw telecommunications, I thought maybe they're just doing this to bump up the numbers because you can only have this many people in the electronics batch.
Huh.
And I just thought this was an extension of the electronics or electrical branch to, get more people involved in, get more students in the university. But turns out we did have a lot of extra electives. Like we had computer communication networking, which electrical engineering doesn't have. We had SATCOM. We had a little bit of wireless too.
Okay.
We did a little bit of wireless technologies. We did like basic GSM, CDMA. We studied those things too.
Yeah.
So we did, it all depended on what elective we chose. If we chose the same electives as the electrical people, we would just be doing another electrical engineering degree. But we chose those electives so that we get a little more into telecom.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then what got you into wanting to do telecommunications engineering? What got you into wanting to do that program?
Actually, so my dad's an electronics guy, so he works in electrical, and he does all circuits and all control theory and stuff like that.
Okay.
I was really interested in anything to do with electricity. Like it really, interested me a lot.
Yeah.
So I initially thought maybe I should do something like analog electronics or something like that.
Yeah.
But I got into this telecom program with the mindset that I'll only take these electives which will go for an electrical degree. But then I also started getting very interested in computer networks and stuff like that.
Okay.
So I slowly started moving that direction, and then we had this really awesome SATCOM course, which totally interested me. So I was like, let's just take it. So the curiosity just to see what's this, that kind of led into a telecommunications path. It's not like I voluntarily went for it.
Yeah.
It's just what interested me the most.
Okay. So when you're over there, when you're getting your degree, like in the U.S., like I guess in Europe, you're kind of slotted for one university or another. Obviously, here in the U.S., you just go to wherever you can afford.
Right.
How does that work in India? Like, was there much option in where you could go? Were you kind of like, you will go to this school? How did that work out?
In India, I think it's very hard to get into some of the good schools because there are so many people competing, and they have these really tough entrance exams, which, for example, if I want to, like for an engineering exam, I would be preparing like 2-3 years before. And especially if you want to get into a university like the IITs or something, people actually start at 8th grade. So they have like a good 4 years of preparation. Like even then it's really hard to get through because of the number of people that are competing. So for me, it was all about clearing this entrance exam in order to get like to a decent college and a decent course. Because I didn't have any interest in doing chemical engineering or something like that. I really wanted to be either in electronics or computer science. Those were like my two only options. For that, whatever it took, like I had to put in that effort and get into that university. And even when you get into the university, I did not get electronics. I got telecom because that was second preferred, because I didn't have the rank enough to get into electronics. So.
So once you passed the test, did you have an option between universities then? Did you have a couple?
I definitely did.
Okay.
It's just I chose this because it was closer to my place, I guess.
Okay, that's fair enough. And then from there, you went to actually University of Maryland, College Park, and got a master's degree in telecommunications engineering. So you like telecommunications engineering. Why did you decide on the U.S. and why did you decide on University of Maryland, College Park?
Okay, so I really wanted to come to the US. It was not only that I wanted to get a master's degree. I was actually very happy to just start working right after my undergrad. That's actually what I wanted. I wanted to like start working, dive in, get the hands-on experience, because I think experience can sometimes outweigh even a degree. Like if you know how to do it, you know how to do it. It's not like you have the certificate which certifies you to tells you that you can do it. So that's why I did my master's primarily because I thought it was a very fast way of coming to the US and start working here. I knew that after 9 months of getting into your master's program, you can start working at least part-time, at least in a internship position or something. So, and I really wanted to work in the US because I felt like there are so many innovations here, and like whatever technology comes out, I get to see it first. Like get to see it, I'll be the first one to see it. Because that slowly filters out everywhere else, right? So I thought, it'll be a good way to start off in the US. And University of Maryland, I guess because it was a public university, I got a lot of, the fee was much cheaper. And also the school is really good, like ranking wise, it's amazing. Like it has a very good ranking. It has a great telecom course, and very importantly, the telecom course there is very industry oriented rather than a thesis. So I didn't do a thesis. I just did a lot of courses, and I did a lot of hands-on work. So I didn't do a thesis. I didn't have to go into the theory of it and spend a lot of time doing the thesis, which is what I wanted, because I really wanted to get in the industry as soon as possible. So it worked out that way.
So then how did that work out with you? Because after September 11th, obviously the immigration policy has just gone to hell. And so how have you felt with all of that? Because you hear a lot of foreign people don't want to come to the U.S. anymore. So was that actually an issue for you?
Not at all. Like I didn't feel it at any point.
Really?
I read all these things that there might be some forms of racism, but I have honestly I've never felt it. Like people have been very straightforward about things. If you know your stuff, they'll give you the respect you deserve no matter what. And I think that's very common in the IT industry especially. If you know what you're doing, if they think you're good, they will give you the respect you deserve. They will never be like, okay, you don't belong to this place, so we're not going to treat you the same way. I have never experienced that. Even with the university, in fact, like I think we had 120 people in our batch in my master's, and I think like 80 people were Indians. So I literally felt like I was studying in India. Like I look back in my class and I see only like Indians and others. So I didn't really ever feel that.
Okay. But what about things like, going back home for the holidays or whatever? You hear about that where college students, they go back home and then they get back on a flight and they're just going to go back to school and then they can't get back in. Have you run into any of that kind of paperwork issue?
That has been the biggest fear of my life, because I have a huge loan on my master's and I have to return it, and the dollar to rupee conversion is terrible, so I did not want to take that chance ever. But it has been really tough because the flight rates are crazy to go back, and you only get like, even if you get to go like for like 2-3 weeks, and you're like I don't want to go back, I want 1 more week of holiday, but you can't do that. And also, like you said, right, like when I finished my degree, I wanted to go back and visit my parents. But what happened was they said that if you don't have a job as soon as you graduate, and if you try to go without having a job, you won't be let back. Like that is a known fact. They'll be like, you don't have a job, right? So what are you going to do coming back? Like, even if I tell them I'm going to look for jobs, they're going to be like, no, like that's not happening. So I had to make sure I had a job, a stable job. I got like several letters from my employer, and I got like a travel certificate from my university. I got copies of my pay stub and a lot of documents. And even when I came here, I had a separate entry process because I was no more a student. So they took me to a separate entry process. There was a small interview we had, and I saw them asking some of the people to actually write code to like just prove that they're computer science engineers. And them asking, why are you taking so long to write a piece of code? Like, did you really do computer science? I was like, what, really? So it was pretty scary, but thankfully nothing bad happened during that process.
So then now, do you have a visa or a green card?
I have a visa. So right now I'm on my student practical training visa. It's called OPT. But I have also applied for my work visa, which is going to come very shortly, hopefully. It's a lottery system. You never know who's going to get it. So it's purely based on luck. So if I'm lucky enough, I'm going to get my work visa in a couple of months.
So how long, the OPT visa?
Yes, this is OPT, student practical training.
So how long does that last for?
That's actually, I'm kind of confused about that because they initially said it's for 17 months. And then there was this whole rumor that, oh, they're gonna like cut out this practical training and you're gonna get only 1 year or something. And then I was like, really? And now they're like, no, don't worry, you have 24 months of practical training. So I'm like, like just give me a number, okay? I'm gonna plan my visa status by then. Like,
okay.
so I think I have like two chances to apply for a work visa. If I
Okay.
don't get it, then I have to go back.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you think, would you go back to India, or would you go back, like, would you try to go to Europe or somewhere else, or like Canada?
I think I would definitely go back to India. It
Yeah,
has, the thought has crossed my head a lot of times. When I graduated, I actually considered going back.
Yeah.
Only the reason being that there's so much technology back there too, and you know, it's easier to, like, if I want to do my own thing, it's very easy to start up. There's a very small you know, capital fee that I have to pay initially to start up something, and it's easier to hire people. I don't because of the dollar to rupee conversion, there's very little amount that I have to spend in order to start something there versus here.
Okay.
There are a lot more regulations here. So if I one day decide that I want to work for myself, I think I'll just go back there and try to do something.
Is it that much easier? Because I mean, I hear the Republican newspaper, read the Wall Street Journal, and they talk, oh crap, Modi is the new president? Yes, I'm getting that right. But I thought that was the thing, is he was trying to get rid of a lot of the bureaucracy, because one of the complaints was it was hard to start businesses in India, because apparently there's so many levels of bureaucracy. But you don't think it's that bad?
It may be. I mean, in a big company, there may be a lot of levels of bureaucracy. That's possible.
Yeah.
But I think, like I said, see, for example, if I'm paying 10 workers in India, as opposed, I'll be probably paying the same salary as I'm paying like 2 workers here, right? So because of the conversion rate, nothing else. So, and I mean, I think there are a lot of coders and a lot of tech people out there too. So. It's not difficult. I don't think it's going to be difficult. I think I'll be very comfortable doing it, in fact.
All right, cool. So then going to school in the US and going to school in India, obviously doing what I do, I hear a lot of communication from Indians and Americans, and they all beat each other up about Indian schools are the best, no US schools are the best, no US is horrible, no India is horrible. Since you actually went engineering in both places, how did you feel that the education stacked up?
So I did different levels of educations. Like I did my undergrad in India and I did my master's here.
Yeah.
I think I loved both the places.
Okay.
It's just, I feel if you want to learn, you'll learn in whatever system there is.
Okay.
And I think in India, we are kind of, we're given these really complex subjects very early on.
Yeah.
Like in school, I remember studying like really complex mathematics and stuff, like when I was in 7th, 8th grade. I don't know if it's the same here because I don't think so, yeah.
No.
So, but I think that kind of prepares you, like I know it's very challenging for a kid, but I think it gives you a lot of confidence, and especially the thing I told you about, that you have all these competitive exams where so many people are competing.
Yeah.
You go from a level of, can I do this? I'm only this young, to I have to do this. Look at how many people are doing this. So you have this example basis, you see so many people doing it. And you see so many engineering graduates around you, and every other person is an engineer or a doctor or something. So you have this level of expectation set for yourself. So that kind of drives you more in India. And here I feel it's more like the person, the individual interest, that, you know, a person when he gets into a degree, he gets into it because he really wants it. Like he's really interested and passionate about studying that subject. And I feel in India it's more like, oh man, everyone's getting it, I have to do it too. So I see that's the difference. But as far as quality of education goes, I think both were really good. And yeah, it was probably the same, I think.
So do you plan, since you got your master's degree pretty quickly, do you plan to go for your PhD? Or
I don't think so, no.
No, don't think so.
No.
Why is that?
Because I just want to like start working and get my hands on and do a lot of stuff. Rather than, like, I'm not saying PhD people don't do stuff, but I don't want to go through again studying and taking courses, because right now everything's available online. Whatever you want to learn, you can learn it online. You can pay for it and learn it online, but you can do it in your own time. And you don't have to like go to university and submit assignments. I don't want to have to do that. I want to have that time to like work on something and learn something new on my own and get hands-on experience. So I don't think so.
But what about like in 10 years or 15 years?
I don't see myself doing it.
Fair Curiously then, because there's a big question about females in the tech industry, and again, since you went to school in India and here, did you notice any differences about being a female learning engineering in either of the places?
Sometimes, not too often. I mean, like, not in school. I don't think in school I've never felt like that. Neither the professors or the students have ever made me feel like that.
Yeah.
But when I actually worked, like when I did an internship or when I did it, sometimes I did feel like I was given a little bit different atmosphere that compared to the other people. Like if there were four men in the room and I was like the only girl, right?
Yeah.
So they would probably like decide amongst themselves and assume that it was fine with me or something. I mean, sometimes it's very rare, like I can like count it off my fingers how many times it's happened. So it's been very rare, but I have felt it sometimes. Like sometimes they feel like maybe I can't do this, so maybe they should do this. I'm like, no, I can do it. Like I can definitely do it. Don't worry about it. So, but usually it's been good. Like I've not had any such problems usually.
Is there something like in your upbringing, because that's one of the questions that comes up with getting more females in the field, is because most guys that I know, we would actually like more females in the field. And since you're here, is there something like, since your father was an engineer, is there something like he passed down to you to make you more interested?
Yeah,
or,
definitely.
Okay.
Like I said, so he actually works for the space agency in India.
Okay.
So he took me several times to office, and I've seen all these satellites wrapped up in this golden paper, looking awesome, and it gave me, it made me so curious about things. And when he used to go for these launches, he used to sit there and he used to like tell me, hey, this is happening, the rocket's about to be launched. I'm like, wow, how does this get launched? So that kind of curiosity, I think it's very important for that to be built up, rather than just tell people, go get this degree. Like, what is the incentive, right? Like everyone has to do a job after a degree. They might as well do some other job, right? So I think the only way is to like build curiosity, and I think my parents did that at a very young age. They built a lot of curiosity in me, and my dad used to like randomly out of the blue ask me questions like, so how do you think current is flowing to this whatever? I'm like, I don't know. He's like, there are electrons inside it. I'm like, really? Where? Like as a kid, he built that curiosity in me. So I think that really helped. And even now, I only function because of curiosity, because you can't tell me to do something and I'm not going to blindly do it unless I see some use in it. If I'm curious, I'll do it. I'll learn more and try to explore more. So it's definitely the upbringing, and they've never been like, you're a girl, so do only these things. They have always been like, go at it fully. Like you don't have to stop because of anything. You are as good as anyone else. So it's always been like that for me.
Cool. So then, so you have, I guess one of the things, so languages, that's curious. So English, Hindi, and Canada?
Canada.
Canada. Does that help you out at all in your professional life, knowing those other languages?
I don't know, maybe mentally, like, it's good for me, like it's like a practice, like I switch from English to Kannada just like that. So that's good. I feel proud about myself for that. But at work, like most people speak English, so I don't, unless I know like some maybe if I know Kannada and I speak to someone in Kannada for technical purposes, it might be useful. And I was trying to learn German too for the same reason, so that I can be employed in Germany if need be, if I'm interested or something. But otherwise, it's pretty much like everybody speaks English, so as long as you're fluent in that, it's good enough.
So I guess that's, how valuable do you feel other languages are? Because it was funny, because I was saying before, I was backpacking through India. And I remember I was on a train once, and so I'm on the train, I'm talking to all the Indians, and then I was telling them I had like this little Hindi book, and so I was trying to learn Hindi. And again, it was the most hilarious thing in the world. You only get this when you actually travel other places. And I'm talking to this woman, I'm like, yeah, I'm learning Hindi. And she just looks me straight in the eye and goes, why? And I was like, what do you mean? She says, we all speak English, and there's like 1,600 official languages, so just put the Hindi book away. And I was like, but I'm trying to be a good American. So how do you feel about that, especially being foreign? I mean, is it good enough just to know English nowadays? Is that?
It is good to know English, but it's definitely an advantage if you know other languages. People look at you and they'll be like, awesome, she can speak so many languages. So that's one thing. Also, you can, if there is someone who speaks the language you speak, then you can connect way better. Like, you can start speaking in that language and it's so much more fun, sort of,
Okay.
to just switch between the two languages. I think it's definitely an incentive. It's more like it's fun to learn a new language and converse in that language.
Yeah.
And I think it's good.
Oh, cool. So then you have a lot of projects here. So when you do LinkedIn, you can put down projects. And most people will say like one project. So you've got like 5 or 6 here. So are these projects you did at university, or like when you just have projects on here? What does a project mean?
A project. Okay, this is my definition. I don't know if this is LinkedIn's definition.
Yeah.
So whenever I worked with, whenever I've worked towards a certain goal and reached the goal and got the results and reported the results, that for me is a project.
Okay.
So for example, when I was in my undergrad, I did an internship at the space agency, and we were working towards establishing a certain fact, and then we established that and got the results. So that I've put as a project.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So similarly, like whenever I've worked on a certain thing, I've put that as a project.
So when you've gone for interviews, have these projects ever come up? Have people stated, "Oh, you did that"?
Yeah, even if it's not very relevant to the job, they have asked me to see, because it's all the same thing, right? They know that I have the capability to do something, so that's what matters. It's not like I have to be subject expert in what they're doing. I have to have the capability to see through till the end a particular thing and have that persistence to finish it, and the detail-oriented personality in me. They want to see all that, so they've definitely asked me.
Oh, okay, cool. So then, so you get out of school, and then, so wait a minute, so first you're a trainee at BSNL, which is a telephone company in India.
Yes, as a service provider.
So that was while you were still in India.
Yes.
Yeah, well, obviously. So how did you get that job? How did that work out?
That was more like a certification course. So I have like a certification from them. They taught us about basic telecom. Like, we were very curious about how telephones work, like how mobile phones had just come in. So I was like, what? Like, how am I getting this wirelessly? How is this even happening? It's like magic, right? So they taught us about GSM, CDMA, basic. I don't think LTE had quite rolled on to India that much then, but they did teach us some basics. And I had a signal processing background. Like, I was very interested in signal processing, so that kind of helped too, because that's how this all works. So they taught us all that. They took us to a base station. I remember they took us to a base station, showed us, what is a base station, what does it do, how does it connect to the rest of the components in the whole telecoms system and all that.
So then that was a job, or that was an education? Is it like apprenticeship, or is it?
It was not a job. It was it was like an apprenticeship. Yeah, it was training me to get into a job like that.
Okay. So was that part of your college education program, or was that something else?
No, it was separate. It was my own interest. Like, I enrolled in it because I want to know how you get what happens when you get a basic telephone call, right? What are the components involved? So that's why I took it up.
So how did you find an opportunity like that?
I think they have these courses every year for people who are interested. I think it's about a month long, and they teach you like the basics first, and they take you on site. They show you all these components. So I think I just registered. I heard of it, and I was like, wow, this is perfect. Like, I'm going to learn so much. I'm going to see into an actual telephone provider's equipment. So I just registered for it.
Cool. And then from there, you went and you interned at the Indian Space Research Organization.
Yes.
So that's the equivalent of NASA, right?
Yes,
Or
in
is it?
India. Yes.
Yeah, okay, just making sure there's not a different one. And you were 5 months there. So was that simply because your father was there, you were able to get into that, or how were you able to get into that?
Like I said, I always had this interest in signal processing.
Okay.
And he knew like a couple of departments where they were doing hardcore signal processing. And I wanted to do an internship somewhere, so I said, hey, can I try and get into this? So he said, yeah, sure, let me try. And he spoke to a few of his colleagues, and they said, so what do you know? They called me in and said, what do you know? What are you interested in doing? What kind of project do you want to do? And they told me the options they had. And they said, I did something called polyphase filters.
Okay.
And it was pretty hard. Like, I had no idea. Like, I had very basic signal processing knowledge at that time, so it was very hardcore. So it helped me learn a lot. It was a very good experience. And it was my first sort of hands-on. So it gave me an idea of how to make reports, how to study data, how to get results, stuff like that.
So now here in the U.S., when you do an internship, a lot of times that can actually turn into a job.
Yes.
Was that the same way there? Like you left
Sort
after
of,
5
yeah.
months, but could you have tried to turn
Definitely.
it into a job?
If I had pursued it, like
Yeah.
after my undergrad, if I had like continued, I could have probably continued there.
Okay.
But they do have a very strong, very difficult entrance process.
Yeah,
I did try giving that. I didn't pass the first time,
Oh,
and
okay.
then I was like, okay, maybe I can try it the next time. But then by then I had already come to the US.
So in India with tech jobs, so like here in the US, it was considered, you know, if you look back in the 1970s, you wanted to be with the government because they had the best tech. In the 80s, 90s, now you want to be in private industry.
Yep.
So how are government technology jobs seen in India? Do you want to be in the private industry? Do you want to be in the government industry?
Yeah, that's actually a really good question because I was actually thinking of being in the government tech industry only because it's extremely safe. They don't lay you off just like that, like it happens in the private sector, and you get a lot of benefits. You know, like my dad gets medical benefits. We get travel once a year. Like everything's paid for. Like it's amazing. So you get that kind of benefits, and it's very safe, you know, to see in that point of view. But I think over time, the idea of, you know, a job has changed so much. Like before, people wanted a job because they wanted a stable income. You know, they wanted this much benefits. They knew they had every day they could take care of their living expenses and all that. But now it's more like people are getting really passionate about what they're doing. I mean, not that they were not before, but people are more like, you know, I think people just get bored more now. So they're like, I want to do it only if I want to do it. Like I'm not going to force myself to do something, right? And and also I think in the private industry we have a lot more what do you say, freedom to choose what we want. Like there are so many different types of jobs you can choose from, as opposed to only a certain set of them. So I think the mindset of people has just changed a lot now. Like I would definitely want to be in the private sector only because I can choose what exactly what I want to do.
Oh, okay. So then you went from there, and for almost a year, you're a research assistant at the Indian Institute of Science. So how did that work out? How did you get that job?
Yeah, that was signal processing too.
Okay,
I was very interested in you know, just basic signal processing, voice processing, and speech processing, and stuff like that.
Okay.
So I knew there was an opening, and I had an interview for that. The thing is, I actually wanted to come to the US right after my undergrad.
Okay.
But I didn't write the exam. I didn't write GRE in my undergrad, so I couldn't come right after. So I did not want to work in a proper industry setting because I thought, you know, I'm gonna like, I want to learn more with research right now. So I went, this was a research institute, and we did a lot of speech, text-to-speech processing. So we had text, and we had the computer like read it out into speech. We had like slowing down, speeding up of speech and stuff like that. It was a good experience, and that's probably when I learned that I don't want to do a PhD, because it was filled with a lot of PhD people, and I saw how much, like, I'm not the kind of person who can shut herself up in a room and study the whole day or research on a particular topic the whole day. I want to be able to talk to a lot of people, interact, you know, get my opinions out, get their opinions back, try to understand the whole, how the system is working, what's latest and what's good, what's better. So I think for me that was the deciding point that no, I don't want to do a PhD. I want to jump in and start working.
Okay. So then, okay, so from there, so that's when you come, but wait a minute, okay. So that's when you come here for your master's degree, and then you start working at, this is the American one too, Zrones?
Yes.
It's X-R-O-N-Z.
Yeah,
okay.
it's Zrones.
Zrones. So you work for software and Wi-Fi intern at Zrones. So what was Zrones?
Zrones. So I did, when I came for my master's, the first year I did a lot of Wi-Fi, LTE and stuff like that.
Okay.
And this was a Wi-Fi kind of role. What we did was we had a chip on the drone. It was a drones company.
It was a drone company.
We had a chip on the drone which would produce Wi-Fi. And your phone could connect to that Wi-Fi and control the drone with that. So there were two things I did. One was sort of trying to set up the chip within the drone and get it to get the Wi-Fi going.
Yeah.
And the other side was actually writing a Android program for the phone to control the movement of the drone. We also had functions like the drone would take videos wherever it went.
Yeah.
So like to process the video, to like get it into a suitable format for us to see, stuff like that. So I did both the parts, but it was a very small company. Like a guy who was actually doing his PhD had started it up.
Okay.
So like there were like 4 people, and he was like literally living in his office. So that because he was trying to save money for the company. So it was very few of us, which worked out for me because I learned so much more because I had my role involved so much, right? So it was good.
So you're helping with the Android app development. Did you learn that in school, or did you then learn that on your own?
No, I just learned it on my own. Like there were a lot of courses on Coursera at that point on Android development. I think there was a series which had 3 for mobile, for just normal and stuff like that. So I did that course, and that's where I learned. And then I just tried it at the company.
That's fair enough. But then you only stayed there for 3 months.
Yes.
Did you just not like it, or was that?
No, actually, it was officially only for 3 months because it was my summer break. So we had 3 months, so I could do full time. So I think I did like 70 hours a week or something. I mean, it was not paid for 70 hours. We were only paid for 40 hours because that was allowed only for 40 hours. But I worked a lot, and then after that, like when my university started up again, I had a job on campus. So I would like help him out now and then, or if he wanted something to be done, he would send it out across to me, and I would try and help him out. But it was not like a continuous effort. Even though I helped him, like I think at almost 6 months after that, I didn't really. It was not official. I wasn't paid for it. It was more like, you did it, so just do some more for me, kind of thing.
You did such a good job working for free. How about some more work?
It was an experience for me, so I didn't really complain.
So how did you find out about that then?
I think they'd come to our college fair, like our college career fair. And I think I'd even forgotten to apply, but he sent me out a mail saying, hey, you submitted your resume, are you still interested? And since I didn't have any other offers at that point from any other companies, I was like, yeah, okay, let's give it a try. It's experience. So I just went for it.
That's cool. And then you did IT tech support at the University of Maryland.
At the university, yeah.
So how did that go?
That was more like, I didn't know much about stuff. I mean, I knew stuff about computers, but I didn't know much about storage, like iSCSI and stuff like that. And people, even basic things like people wanted help with their, like upgrading their browser and stuff like that. So I was like, cool, okay. And it paid really well. It was an on-campus job. We did all kinds of odd jobs, sort of, hardware, software, everything. We were building they used to have these frequent talks at the university. So we were building like a calendar base, we were writing a program in PHP, sort of, to take in the information from them and convert it to JSON format, write a PHP code to sort of parse it out, and then have these ICS, the calendar, iCalendar formats, and then so that people could just download and put it on their calendar about all these talks. So that's what I did there.
Cool. But you were only there for 5 months, and then you're a junior cloud engineer intern at Reen Cloud?
Yeah, that's another startup. That was another startup. I did a cloud computing course. We did a lot of Amazon Web Services stuff there. And this was a company which had just started up, and they were like building private clouds for people, and they were also doing like sort of back-end analysis of what was going on in the private clouds. So we would build out VPCs for these customers, and at the back end we would sort of use these tools called Stack Driver and Cloud Aware, I think. Those 2 tools, we used to use them to monitor the cloud usage by these people. I know Amazon has its own Cloud Watch and stuff, but we were also monitoring using these tools and telling them, hey, you're actually losing out so much money because you're not doing this efficiently, so why don't you try this option? And sometimes there used to be like all these batch processing kind of things. So like there used to not be enough bandwidth for some applications to be deployed or whatever. So that time we used to tell them, see, you can upgrade it like this, and you can do this. Next time this happens, you can try this out. So that's what we were doing there.
Oh, and so was that paid, or was that another intern?
It was paid.
That was a paid one, okay. And then from there, okay, so you're still up in Maryland at that point.
Yes.
Right? And so you're working there, and you graduate, got your telecommunications degree, and then you get hired at Cumulus, but Cumulus is down here.
Yes, in RTP.
Yeah, and so how did you get hired at Cumulus, and then what was the decision about moving down here? What brought you
Okay, so
here?
when I graduated, I applied to like a lot of different jobs.
Yeah.
Like I didn't just go for one domain. I went for a lot of them.
Yeah.
I think I got like another one at Qualcomm for Android programming. I got another one at Spirent for a DevOps intern. I was really into I was really interested about DevOps at that point. But I don't know, I just felt like it was very expensive. It was in Calabasas and it was very expensive out there.
Yeah.
And I wasn't gonna earn that much to like sustain everything. So I was like, okay, I'm not taking up that. But Cumulus I took because I was really interested in OpenStack at that point.
Okay.
Like it was almost like a fantasy for me for like, because I had not done much OpenStack in college. I had just read about it and I used to go to these meetups where people used to talk about it and all the awesome things it could do. And Cumulus, they had given me a position where I was supposed to develop the ML2 plugin for the Neutron, the networking piece of OpenStack, using Cumulus Linux, which was Cumulus Linux also was very new to me and was a very new concept. So I was like, I think this will be a really great opportunity in all aspects. Like I'll get to work with Linux, I'll get to work with networking, I'll get to do some cloud computing in OpenStack. So I think that kind of motivated me to take it up. It was just, and it was a startup. So I thought, my role will be huge. I'll do a lot of stuff. So I worked there for about 3 months, maybe 3 months. And then I had to get my work visa, right? And I wasn't sure they were going to give me a full time. And because, otherwise I would have just continued there probably. So I was like, you know what? I think my visa right now is more important. Maybe I can always go back to them. So I switched out from there.
Oh, I see. So that was actually because of the work visa.
Yes.
That's why.
Yes.
Interesting. Okay. And then that's when you got hired at Cisco.
Cisco, yes.
So did Cisco worry at all? Because normally when I look at people's resumes, it's, they've only been somewhere a year, and like you, it's like 4 months,
Hop
5 months,
everywhere.
3 months.
Yeah.
How did Cisco seem to feel about that when you got hired?
They weren't too concerned.
They weren't too concerned,
So the thing is, these were not my full-time jobs, right? They were all internships. They were all part-time jobs.
Yeah.
It was never like I've done a full-time job and I've like quit it so many times. And I think I got like really good recommendations from Cumulus Networks, so they were pretty happy to take me in. And I was working in a very relevant field. Like I had done OpenStack, and Cisco wanted me to work on ACI and OpenStack, so it was very close. And also I had a good programming background, I had a good Linux background. I knew my networking, like I pretty much had prepared for CCNA at that point itself. So they did the interview and they were very happy. They said, cool, I'm sure you love ACI, and I think they knew they would keep me or something, so they took me in.
So you've got this telecommunications engineering degree, but the work that you're doing, is what you're actually doing more stuff you've learned on your own, or is this stuff you learned in college?
That's actually true. That's very true.
Really? Okay.
Like I said, I learned a lot of wireless in my telecom degree,
Yeah.
and I did like one course in cloud computing. That was it. I didn't even do SDN or anything.
Yeah.
But right now I'm doing a lot of networking and SDN and cloud too.
Yeah.
And I think it was, like I said, I think it's all because of my own, like me trying out hands-on more than me studying something. Because you can read all these things on the internet about so many things, right? But at the end of the day, what can you actually do? Can you write a code for that? Can you make it work? Can you deploy it? What can you do with it? That's when you actually get a feel for it. And the capabilities that it has, you can only know when you actually make it work. So otherwise it's just theory, right? This can do these many things, but do you really know that? Do you know how well it can do that? So I think it's more like I've learned these things and try to deploy it within whatever capacity I had, and that's how I've landed the job too, I think.
That works. So do you think if you had to do it over again, would you have still gone for a telecommunications degree, or would you have gone for computer science or engineering?
I think I would have definitely gone for computer science, only because coming out as a computer science graduate, you have a lot more career opportunities. People like just hire you like that. Whereas for telecom, they're like, what is telecom? What do you even study in that? So I think I would have definitely done computer science. But I don't regret it, because I think I know so much more now, and it's so easy to learn coding, right? It's not too hard nowadays. There are so many courses out there. There's so many platforms where you don't have to go through the complex process of writing code from scratch. They give you like this platform where you can just start writing, developing apps and writing code. It's very easy nowadays. So I didn't really need the 4 years of teaching me how to code, right? So I'm pretty okay with the fact that I did telecom. It gave me an insight into so many other things, and now, even though I might be a jack of all, master of none, I do know a lot of things, so it's good.
Cool. And then, so now that you're working at Cisco, so you worked at a lot of, you've done internships at like big companies and stuff, and you're working at Cisco, and you've also done startup. So how do you feel, like, if you didn't have to worry about visa issues, would you target startup or would you target enterprise?
I think for visa issues, it has to be a big company, because they just have so many lawyers. It's so much more safer. They've done it so many times, and they have the budget to do it for you. Whereas a startup, like, you're not sure. They like, are you valuable enough to them that they'll sponsor you? They'll spend that money on you? You're not sure. So I think it should definitely be a big company, and that's kind of sad, because I don't think that should be a limiting factor in you trying to choose a career, right? But that's how it is right now, so
All right. So I guess the final question is, since I think we've come to everything, is so if you had the option to stay in the US forever or go back, like, what's the longest you'd want to stay in the US, do you figure?
Yeah, that's a very difficult question to answer, because I really don't know. At this point, I'm really excited about technology and doing the latest things, latest and the greatest things, sort of. And I just want to be doing stuff and, you know, finding happiness out of that, you know, sort of. I really don't know if geographically it matters or not if I stay here or in India, because I think in both places you can create opportunity wherever you go. And I think India is very technologically forward too. It's not going to be hard at all to find a great job there. So, I mean, at this point, I really don't know. Like, it all depends on how my work goes and where it takes me. It's all up to my work, I think.
Well, I guess that would be so being from India, being from the other side of the world, you know, everybody talks about like the shift of power and the shift of technology is moving. Do you actually feel that? Like, would you feel that in 20 years it's reasonable to think that the next Silicon Valley will actually be somewhere over there instead of being in the US?
It's very possible. When I graduated, I was applying to all these jobs, and the companies, every single company I applied to had one office in Bangalore and one office here in San Francisco. And every time I applied, they were like, so you're from Bangalore, right? Do you want a job in Bangalore? I was like, no, I want a job in San Francisco. Like, so, and even here, right? Even at my present workplace, they have outsourced so much work to India, and we wait on them to give us so much of results and stuff like that. So it's very possible. Like, I wouldn't be surprised at all.
Okay, cool. Well, thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, that's great. So this is Sharanya Prasad, Solutions Test Engineer at Cisco. Yet another interview done down here at the INE in Durham. As always, I enjoyed doing this interview and look forward to seeing you guys in the next one.